that we did discuss what to do if a majority of the adjoining property owners objected to a new SDR. Well, this is what the minutes say. 4, SDR application / approval process. The planning commission discussed what to do if the majority of adjoining property owners objected to a new SDR. No consensus was reached, and the matter will be discussed at a future meeting.
I'm good.
So this may not be in the copy you got in your packet.
No, it's not in the copy we have in our packet.
But I'll certainly be glad to give this to town clerk.
And Renee, we need to make sure that those are the ones
I don't
that
know,
are on the website instead of these.
I'll check my spam.
and you don't need to make copies, unless anybody wants them. So see if I can copy.
Okay.
I think we're fine. Any more discussion on the minutes from
I'm
last
good.
meeting?
When do we make a decision on what we're gonna do about it?
We did, we said we were gonna discuss it.
We're
at a
gonna
future
discuss
meeting.
it tonight,
Okay.
and I think our goal will be to make a decision on it tonight. So, anybody want to make a motion to approve the minutes
I'll
as
make a motion,
submitted from Dick?
Alexander.
yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as submitted by Dick Pratt.
I'll second that.
Okay, Chairman.
All those in favor vote, let's say aye.
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 5-0.
Yep.
Passes.
Do we need to say, ask if anyone's opposed to? Okay.
You can, but if 5 say aye,
Right.
probably none.
I'm just wondering procedurally.
Little Charlie's.
If you just, it's not a bad habit.
Okay.
Another standard procedure is if somebody does oppose, and you should do record the vote, who voted in favor and who voted against.
So is there anybody here who'd like to speak that's not on the agenda tonight? Great, so we'll go ahead and move on to Rich. It's your turn.
Basically, it's just an informative meeting that we wanted to let you know what the fire department's doing currently. A couple summers ago during the flood, back of the station got damaged pretty heavy. We put in for a FEMA grant to have it reclaimed. We got several different grants, one ranging right around $25,000 all the way up to $37,000. The FEMA grant was for 3/4, and we had to match the rest of it. So our part of it's about $6,000. What we're doing is the large tree that's behind the station, we've got the landowner's permission to cut that down. So that'll be moved out of there because it creates an obstruction behind the station, which forces all the water into the station. That'll be removed, the wood will be set up by Oak Street, New Pass Ave, it'll be free for the taking, so anybody that wants that wood can have it. Rather than haul it off, they can have it. Then we'll be going back in there with large boulders, reshape that bank, and then go back in and set the large boulders in there. We're not gonna be able to concrete it because we just don't have the money to do it. But that's what's going on, and we've already moved the service drop back there. The service did come in behind the station through that tree, and the tree trimmer said they would not take it down unless the service was moved. So we have moved the service to the front of the building. We took care of that,
What kind of service?
electric service.
Oh,
Yeah, it came through that tree, and the tree trimmer wouldn't touch it unless we took it down. So we contacted Colorado Springs Utilities, they came up and tied us through the front side. We also put in a new mast in there, that cost us about $1,000. But that's what's going on, just so you're informed of what else may be going on behind the station. It should help the flooding down through there, particularly your property and the property across the street, because usually what happens, it jams right there where that big tree is, and goes right straight down to that guy's house.
What side is the tree on?
It's on the property,
There's a good
on the
picture.
north side of the bank.
Oh, thank you.
It's on the north side of the bank, that big
Oh, yeah.
one there.
Oh, yeah.
And so a lot of those, if we had the money, a lot of those could come out. But That one we are gonna take out.
So Dogwood,
Yeah. It's a big, big tree.
this one.
That's the one.
Rich, do you have a time frame on when you're?
They
gonna
should start cutting the
cut
tree
down?
hopefully this week, if the weather holds out. They had a little bit of trouble getting the service done due to weather, and we finally got it done, so they should move in there this week and try to get that tree out of there. And then, weather good, maybe another week before the construction company gets in there, starts grading that bank and starts putting the rock back in.
What sizes are the logs gonna be, so we know who,
Oh,
say, hey, we got some
Yeah,
logs
it'll
out there,
be
you wanna haul
that
them out?
big to that big. They're gonna be big.
Length, 10
I'm
feet,
not sure if they're
15 feet,
doing 6.
5 feet,
Yeah,
6
I'm not
feet?
sure how big they're gonna do them, that's kind of up to them. You know, if we need to take them down smaller, we'll. see if
You
they're
got
willing
somebody,
to
you're
do it.
taking bids?
Huh?
Have you got somebody to do it, or are you taking?
Yeah, it's all been contracted.
And you said Oak Street and Newpass is where the,
Yeah, where the logs will be placed, we cleared that, we talked to town maintenance. He
okay,
said we can put them there, and then anybody that wants that wood can have it, if it doesn't go away, we'll give it.
okay,
We figured some of the town people might want.
we can definitely,
Rich, was that point of information, was the location for the wood pile going to be down by where the triangle is? You know,
Right across the street. by the tree there.
Olathe and,
Yeah,
Olathe and Upass,
oh, is that where it's gonna be?
Yeah.
Across the street.
where the flooding sand,
And actually it disappears rapidly.
Yeah.
It
Got it.
doesn't.
Okay, so that's not Oak Street,
no, no,
okay,
You call those utilities, yes.
Yeah.
so that's a lake,
So rather than haul the wood off there and make it available to whoever wants
okay,
it.
we can get the word
We're
out.
paying for it anyway, so.
Yeah.
And we'll put it on our website also.
We're just spray paint free.
Free, that's why we're gonna do that too, free. As far as that, we're still working on negotiations as far as, Joyland is concerned. Right now, rather than share a right of way, we're gonna try to buy a right of way from them. We're gonna come down to the right of way for the new station will be between the town hall and Joyland along this bank over here. Because if we get that property, we have to bring all the utilities and stuff up through. But we're still in negotiation with that. Hopefully it works out. And we don't float away. Anybody want to buy fires?
East side or the west side of the,
Which one now?
where you were talking, what you were talking about, the new structure, is that on the east side or the west side?
Almost
Actually,
right
it's
here.
right down here.
That's the,
Yeah, it's,
Yeah.
Joyland Church.
Yeah.
The big building out
where
the
we used to
back.
be.
Well, I can,
And that's, that's looking like it's gonna be, all said and done, probably, we don't have all the bids yet and stuff, but probably on the $2 million project. Of which we have none.
That's okay, we drink that.
Is that gonna be a separate access?
Yes, we're gonna try to buy that land, so it's access for us. And then that way we don't get all tied up. We were already gonna put a island down through there, the landscape island all the way down. But now we're gonna put curb and gutter in there, landscape island. And if the town doesn't have any real big objections, if we get that far, we might improve their retention pond down here at the bottom.
Yeah.
Because it's just not designed to hold enough and then channel it on down.
Gotcha, okay.
But that would be, like I say, we're looking at 2 to 3 years. It's, that we've gotta do something. If we stay where we're at, we're gonna end up managing.
Rich, do you have a vicinity map, a specific project location map with project boundary indicated, a jurisdictional determination map? And those are referenced in Corps of Engineers, how to request a permit verification.
Basically, the property where the tree is the owner of the property in the White House down there, I forget his name.
Sure.
The one with the huge amount of property.
Yeah. That is his property, and he's given us permission to work from there, and take all that down. So he has given us permission to do that. Everything else is basically our property. And there's not much property between the station and Cree.
Do you have any of those maps that I just mentioned?
I don't have any of them with me now.
Or were they presented, do you know if they were presented?
To the Corps of Engineers,
Yes.
approved that permit, so they got everything they need.
I guess what I'm asking is, right now, all the planning commission has is pictures. We have the aerial, which is probably
That's a GIS.
from the assessors. So, the photographs. One of the photographs shows what appears to be a door on the backside, probably closest to where.
There's no door on the backside. That is a shed.
Okay.
That gets to you.
Okay, but nonetheless, it looks like, you might want access or maintaining a distance between the building, back of the building, and the edge of the slope where the riprap goes. And
Currently,
what is that space? I mean, are you gonna extend it out 5 feet or 50 feet?
we'll be taken back to where it was.
Okay,
Now it's all washed out.
right.
I think
We've
this
got
is,
about 2 feet separation between the creek and the station. We're gonna try to bring it out probably about 10 feet as to where it was.
regional building floodplain approved this.
Yeah,
So
floodplain approved.
I don't think we can really question, they're the experts, we're not.
Well, it's the,
You know, we went through the procedure to get all the permits permitted
Yeah,
by
and-
floodplain.
so
and by
it-
floodplain.
So the regional's floodplain development permit specifies that we restore it to the original grade, and I'm interpreting that to be elevation. So do you have a map that shows what that elevation is? How would somebody look at that and know that you retained the same elevation? How do you know that you're not encroaching out of the creek farther than what it was? And so that's why I'm asking for a map. How do you document where you are now, where you are when you're finished, and
They didn't require it.
Well, and if regional building's approving it, they're gonna
Regional,
come out
yeah.
check it, and they're gonna approve it, and that's their deal. That's
The
not us.
regional building came to us and said, okay, you can do this, and this is all you need to do, and that's what we did.
I don't think there's a way to determine what the original.
I agree, that'd be difficult.
Original
The only-
bank
the
level
only
is.
thing we can go
So
by is
you
what
kind of
the
have to go with
station
what's there,
is.
as long as they're not creating a floodplain, as long as they don't make their bank higher than the bank across the stream, then there shouldn't be a problem.
It's already higher
Our
by
bank is
3 or 4 feet.
quite a bit.
Yeah,
But that's entirely up to you.
yeah, I mean, just from the photos, there's a significant
It's
difference.
considerably higher than that.
Yeah.
It's probably 8 to 10 feet higher than the bank across the stream.
Well, but again,
That's-
you know,
It's
that,
been that way,
floodplain determines that, not green
Yeah.
water.
it's been that way forever, as far as I know. And I've been there, I've been in this area 52 years, and it hadn't changed elevation in that time until just recently.
Section 16.8.13, establishment of development permit. Development permit shall be obtained before construction or development begins within any area of special flood hazard established in section 16.807 of this article. Applications for development permit shall be made on the forms furnished by the town and may include, but not limited to, 16.8.13. Plans in duplicate drawn to scale showing the nature, location, dimensions, and elevations of the area in question. Existing or proposed structures, fills, storage of materials, and drainage facilities, and the location of the foregoing. So
That
there's-
is correct, and it says may include. May include is not a mandatory text of the
Correct.
law.
Shall.
So it says we may do it, or we may not do it. And in that context, we went through regional building and they said, you're good, go ahead.
Yeah.
We went through the floodplain and they said, you're good, go ahead.
Yeah, and that's the additional email that was sent out
There's-
yesterday, day or two ago, says that the Army Corps of Engineers approves it.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I did some research on this when I saw it in the packet.
Yeah.
And my question was, what's our town planning commission's role in this project? So I went to land use code, and now everybody's got one. Section 16.805 requires there be a development permit, which you alluded to, which is approved by the planning commission which then sends it to regional building and they approve it. Well, the fire department has been very astute. They've already gone to the regional building, got their approval. So my feeling is, I trust regional buildings floodplain administrator. I respect his approval. I don't think there's anything we will find that we'd object to. So I'm saying, maybe we should just say, we do not feel a development permit request to the planning commission is required in this particular case.
I agree, it's already gone through Army Corps of Engineers, it's already gone through RBA.
Right.
There's nothing further we need to do.
For the
They're just trying to keep them informed.
benefit of the audience,
And that would
there's a
make-
floodplain development permit signed by regional, stamped by regional. And there's a FEMA application that has also been signed and approved. So I don't think there's any role left for us.
Right,
As
but
long as we're satisfied that the proper authorities have approved this project.
and basically, Rich is just being nice to us and telling us what they're doing.
Pretty much.
That's all it is, so
We've been working on it for over a year now.
I
Through
appreciate it.
FEMA, it started through FEMA, and FEMA gave the first approval. And then FEMA said, okay, you gotta do this and this, and we followed their procedures and we did. It took a long time, but we did.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming and telling us about it.
I think for the record, we need to make a motion. I'm stating what I said.
Yeah.
If I can remember what I said.
We have no business in involving ourselves.
Yeah.
What they're doing,
Since the project
unless you wanna sue the
Yes.
United States government.
already been approved on the
By regional building.
regional building, by regional building department, permit number 16014, and has been, and the FEMA application, it's a big long number.
Yeah.
I'll put it in minutes.
It's fine, we have copies of it.
The planning commission feels there is no further action by the planning commission.
I'll second that.
Anybody want to amend that or change it?
Okay, is the planning commission have any other questions as far as what we're proceeding with? And
No,
everything else we're working on, because there's gonna be a lot more coming someday here.
yeah,
Just,
If there's anything we need to do, we'll do it.
I think discussion,
Go ahead.
addressing that, are you guys okay with me asking a couple more questions as part of discussion?
for.
Because there's a motion and a second.
Yep,
For the floodplain part.
Floodplain part.
Yeah, go ahead.
The riprap, it's 24-inch riprap, what type of material is that? Is that like granite or stone? It's not
It's
concrete.
stone, it'll be any place from 24-inch to larger.
Okay.
It's
Something won't
it'll
wash
be-
away.
hopefully. Chances are, if we get another flood like we had last time, it's all gonna end up down the creek.
And
We're not gonna be able to stop it. We can't concrete it because we can't afford it.
the,
That was $37,000.
so is the project that you're doing the hazard mitigation proposal, where instead of the original fill, you're doing the 2-to-1 slope?
It should come out to about 2 to 1.
Okay.
Yeah.
2-to-1 with the riprap.
Yeah. And then by taking that tree out, it'll open up that channel there. You know, Corps of Engineers and the floodplain people said, well, you wanna take out more trees while you're doing it? And we said, no. Because we can't afford to take them out.
It's almost not a tree, it's more like an octopus. It's trying
Yeah, and
to
there's
devour
another one,
creek,
I
you know.
believe it's town property right up from it. They said that one could disappear with it.
What is that, a Dutch elm?
Beg your pardon?
Dutch elm?
Yeah,
Cottonwood,
cottonwood, I think.
cottonwood, I think,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think most of those along there are cottonwood. And they're huge,
That's alive, right?
most of it.
Somebody tried to cut it down once, otherwise it wouldn't look like this.
Well, they-
Well, we did some trimming on it, probably 10 years ago because it was intruding on the roof of the station. So we did do some trimming about 10 years ago.
God,
Hey.
so fast.
What was your other question?
I'm good.
Okay. So we had a motion and a second. All those in favor of
The motion.
the motion? Vote by saying aye.
Aye.
I'm gonna vote no. I'm opposed.
Okay,
In that there isn't a vicinity map, a specific project location map.
okay.
Alexander,
The removal of tree,
thanks.
is specifically prohibited by ordinance.
Hey,
Unless
Vance.
it's-
Removal of the tree is,
I think that ordinance was changed because when I was chief of the fire department, that ordinance was in place. And we had some problems with fire mitigation, that things had been removed, and I thought that ordinance had been repealed and replaced. You could cut down a tree, because the old town ordinance said you could not cut down any trees in town,
Oh, my word.
which was not a good thing.
That's,
I remember when that was written.
yeah, because trees are cut down very regularly in town.
Yeah, well, they weren't, the old ordinance, you weren't permitted to cut down any trees in town limits of Green Mountain Falls.
oh, jeez.
We started doing fire
Except
mitigation work
Footprint for new
right
facilities.
after,
New facilities
Yeah.
or within 15 feet of a new
Yeah.
construction.
and then right after the Haman fire, we came in and started doing fire mitigation work. And said, look, these things have gotta go,
You
But I
got
think it was also changed because of
insurance purposes.
Sure.
If you don't move trees from your property, it presents a fire hazard, you don't get insurance.
Right.
Yep.
So that ordinance was, I'm pretty sure was changed.
I feel like we've discussed that here at some time.
Yeah, because it was changed shortly after Haman, I think.
Okay.
I don't remember when we discussed it, Willie, but I do feel like we discussed that at some time.
Yep.
That ordinance, there was an ordinance that changed that. I don't know when though, I can't
It was
remember.
quite a while back because I said it was changed, I know, because we had a big problem with not being able to cut down trees. And it presents a huge problem, and if we had our way about it, there'd be a lot more gone. This would be a pretty forest if we could do it. It's very expensive.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Excuse me, Rich. Excuse me.
Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, so, before I forget, thank you for bringing out land use cuts for all of us.
Oh, you're welcome.
I want to make things much easier. I won't be sitting here staring at my phone like this.
We can't sleep, we have something to read.
Yeah. Great reading.
So I think the first thing we should address is 6.4 from last time, talking about when the neighbors object, how we can actually get that crazy slate.
Yeah.
Actually,
Due consideration.
do we care? Instead of before where we're just like, well, if you don't like it, tough luck. So.
This is still the short term.
It is.
Did anybody look at the time frame? A short time person will come in here after a month.
Yeah, it's under 30 days.
Okay, so the only one that would be really effective, if, say, that they had a bad tenant, the tenant's out of here, he's gone. So the other person, missed, I didn't see this, they're penalized to the next season, or how is that gonna work with your penalization?
What can happen at any time is what we've been talking about. What we're focused on right now is when they're applying for a short-term rental, especially air conditional use, and we send out the letters to all the neighbors. If we get letters back from the majority of the neighbors saying they don't want it, what do we do? That's what we're talking about right now.
No short-term rentals, because individuals in near the same location, well, they have more rights than anyone else, they're living there.
Well,
That's it.
but the landowner also has rights, so we're trying to figure out how to balance those two out.
Well, if he owns the land, if he's gonna rent to somebody that it's, of questionable character.
But you don't know that. You can't,
And
you
maybe
can't
he
decide.
doesn't know either, but by the time that it might take an effect, this guy's gone, and who's the one that's gonna take an effect? Somebody, he might be a neighbor. I haven't figured out, you guys have, I've looked at this stuff, I've read it, and how do you stop somebody from running something when the person that is responsible for it doesn't say it's trash or the noise, and they're gone?
But that's, when it's a short-term rental, you, the owner of that, the person who's renting it out is the person who's responsible.
So he ends up being responsible. He didn't know this person was gonna do this. He thought everything was okay.
Yeah, it's a risk you take.
And it's a risky case, and
Yeah.
that ought to be included in how you put forth the paperwork. This is a risky case. If you cannot trust your renter, you risk not being able to rent it.
Well,
And that'll eliminate, a ton of stuff.
no, because you can't, you're doing short-term rentals, it's Airbnb, it's VRBO, you can't say, you don't know.
No, we don't, nobody knows.
You
can
can't-
have
you can't
a
determine.
1,000 perfect renter. And one guy's gonna blow it for this guy that's
No.
been surviving.
It's not one guy's gonna blow it. It's a consistent pattern.
Multiple.
Yeah, it's a consistent pattern is what we've been talking about.
Okay, so, it went from, but it, the couple of times I've listened to you, it's everyone, not just you or it's everyone. Is that if it affects in one season, it's gonna take an effect on the, owner in the next season.
Yeah.
Because he won't be able to rent the property again.
Well, yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
It's totally correct. But you're not gonna say, oh, you have one person that had the trash out, left the trash out, and you're done. That's not how it works. So, that's not what we've been talking about. But, so, I think, Willie, you had some thoughts on when we should be rejecting based on when people have sent letters back and said, no, I don't want this.
Yeah, why are we asking neighbors if they're opposed to it? If it
It doesn't
ends
matter.
up having no merit?
Yeah, I agree. There's no reason to ask the neighbors if we're not gonna take it into consideration. Or if we're not really gonna take it into consideration.
Yeah.
Have you ever rejected a short-term rental when you've been on the planning commission there? Ever?
No.
Exactly.
There have been grounds to.
Well, there's never been good grounds that we could act on because there's never been anything in the
We
code.
have religiously followed the town ordinance as it's written,
Right,
period.
exactly. So how
Now,
do
what
we
you're
change-
talking about is amending the town ordinance to give more weight to the neighbors.
That's what we've been
And I
talking about
understand.
the whole time.
Huh?
Yeah, I agree with you, Dick, that's what we're talking about.
That's what we're talking
A safeguard.
Yeah, Matt?
But don't look back.
My point was gonna be that the whole reason for this exercise is because the ordinance that is in place is deficient.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we all agreed that that was the reason that we're going through this exercise, is that the rules that are in place are deficient. They needed to be upgraded, and that's what we're doing. So if you decide to recommend to the board that they find a way, that they find a cause for denial, that they deny a permit, then there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But to just approve every application simply because they fill up some of the criteria without giving the neighbors in that particular neighborhood a chance to voice their opinion, then there's no point in going through the application process, there's no point in asking them to have a permit, just let it go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because frankly, that's pretty much what it's come down to.
Meg, this planning commission agreed to start a discussion on how to amend the code to give more weight to the neighbors' opinions. That's where we're at.
Well, the planning commission agreed to do that, and giving more weight to the neighbors is only one part of it.
No,
What's the other part?
but that's just what we're talking about right now.
All the regulations that we've been talking about for the last 6 months.
Those are still on the table.
Yeah, I mean, it's all gonna end up being one.
Yeah, we're only focused
I
on
agree.
this one part right now. That's, yeah,
Just
Right.
all that other stuff,
getting our hands around that so that, we truly do consider, you know, the neighbors, the adjoining property owners, or the neighborhood, whatever it is. So that if everybody's opposed to it, why would we grant it? So I mean, it's defining what criteria, what threshold has to be met or not met to deny or not deny.
Criteria.
Yeah.
Understandable, but as it was done in the agreement with Dick, it's always worked before, there's never been a problem. There's lately been a problem because everybody is trying to change the concept of an vacation rental. I want to go back and just say the way it used to happen was we would issue letters to the abutting neighbors. They came back with yay or nay, and they also told why they didn't want it, or if they were for it, they didn't have to say anything, but if they were opposed, there was a section where they would say why they were opposed. But I've had plenty of vacation rentals, and I know for a fact that none of my neighbors that were ever opposed, I either placated them or appeased them. I made it very clear that I was looking out for their best interest. And that would be why these letters are sent out and why the vacation rental owner has this stand to
and he's,
tell his side of the story.
And I see no problem with that.
Okay,
and
but and let's just say there were 5 abutting neighbors, which usually there is.
Alexander, what's the percent?
I'm throwing that out for discussion. We need a starting point. I'm gonna say 60%. We need
Say
60%.
60%, okay.
60% of the letters, not 60% of the letters we get back, 60% of the letters that are sent out. Because if people care, they're gonna send them back.
Okay, so if we expand on that, you have
Sorry,
you have adjoining property owners, and then you have letters that are sent out,
Yeah,
which in some cases will not be the same, as in the case of Lisa's, the one that's gonna come up in 2 weeks.
Right.
So you have adjoining, then you have the number of people who had letters sent to them, then you got the public hearing where you may get people who don't belong to, who aren't part of either group.
yeah. Ooh, I think a better way to put it maybe would be percentage of letters that are sent out that come back negative. Because, you know, people may not send the letter in. If it's positive, they
Yeah.
don't care.
Right.
So they might not send the letter in, but if it's negative, they're gonna care, and they're
Right.
gonna send it in. So probably we should, I think a better way to phrase it would be
Percentage of letters that was sent out.
percentage of letters that are sent out that are received that are negative. So if we receive over,
So let's say we sent, you know, there's typically 5 properties.
Yeah.
Sometimes it'll be 6, but
Yeah.
typically there's at least 5.
Yeah.
So if you send out 5, and you get 3 letters back
that are negative.
that are negative, you have 60% of letters sent out.
Mhm.
There are 2 parts.
Like 2 of the letters that didn't come back would be.
One is where they say, no problem, yes.
In
The other
favor.
one says no. Then there's a blank where they say why they say no.
Mhm.
And what we found out is a lot of the letters, why they said no, was really not very substantial. It wasn't really arguable. It was not enough to sway us. So, you know, you still need the public hearing, you still need the neighbors and the owner to come together before us and argue their case.
Right,
You can't automatically deny a permit just because you have a certain percentage of letters that have an X in the nose.
Right, it needs an extra level of scrutiny.
Yeah, right.
But this is what we're trying to do, is we're trying to change how the town does business with regards to approving.
What I'm saying, I'm against this percentage, because you're leaning toward making that automatic. Okay, now the planning commission has to disapprove this request, because 60% of them check the no box.
Did we say automatic?
No,
We
you
have
didn't.
that now.
No, you didn't use that term, but that's what it sounds like you're going toward.
How many times have letters come back with 100% or against it, other than this El Paso situation?
This is the first time.
It's the only one I'm aware of.
Yeah, first time.
What is the problem?
Well, that's the only one we've had really that was
Okay.
significantly negative.
I've been all the times that I've gone for vacation rental, all the times I've sat in this planning commission when, not on planning commission, but out there, and vacation rentals have come in, I've never seen 100%. You know, in that situation come back.
That's correct.
Okay, so question for David and Dick.
Yeah.
If we put a threshold
Yeah.
that you have to get this, this percentage of neighbors approving your short-term rental application, don't you think they're gonna do more what David does in persuading his neighbors to buy into it?
Yeah.
You don't have to. Well, if you know that you need a majority of people.
A letter is written at home, privacy. Somebody calls them and says, hey, vote against this, we don't want this. The public hearing is where it all comes out. You get to hear arguments from both sides. The owner is there to represent themselves. The neighbors are here. That's where the decision is made, in the public hearing, not just looking at letters.
Right, there's also that posting that's out, the signs that's put up. There's all kinds of things that are taken, have to keep taken into consideration, whether this person should or shouldn't have a vacation rental
And that's what we're trying to decide.
SDR.
What is our guiding tool to make a recommendation to the board to approve or not approve?
So-
What's our criteria?
So our guiding tool is to listen to arguments on both sides and make a conscious decision based on the evidence presented to us, not depend on a percentage of an informal vote by neighbors. That's not the way you settle land use problems.
Is that something to
You're
be
gonna end
considered?
up in court.
Is that something to be considered?
Let's take a break for a second.
No, we should consider the percentage, but that's not the determining factor.
If someone is that adamant not to have a short-term rental in their neighborhood, you're likely to end up in court anyway. So my suggestion is that, I think the percentage makes a lot of sense. And if there's a higher percentage that are against it, it's a 45-day or a 60-day process, that gives the applicant plenty of time to approach those people who are against the project, and gives him a chance to change their mind. And if he can't change their mind, then it's too bad. The point is that the neighborhood should have some input as to what happens to the culture of their neighborhood.
Right, I agree, but here's something that we're not taking into consideration. This whole thing used to start off at the planning commission. People would apply, they'd go to the town hall and apply for their permit, their application to get permit. The clerk, whoever was, sent out the letters. The letters came back to us. You know, it doesn't matter what we do. If we take 5 letters and say nay, we approve the application. All we're doing is approving the application. They now have to go before the trustees, and they have to make the final decision. That's where all the stuff would come together, the posting on the property, the letters where they have time to either sway or dissuade, or convince people that they need it. It doesn't matter what we do. If we approve it, we approve it. We've approved the application.
So
I have to disagree with that, only because the planning commission is an arm of the board of trustees, and their opinion is taken with a considerable amount of weight.
Here's how I worked with the planning commission. I would come before the planning commission, and they would do site surveys. They'd see if my house was able to sustain parking. They'd check everything out. They'd go inside the house. They'd even check out to see if it had, how many bedrooms it had, how many people could stay in there, how many people is your limit. This was what the planning commission did.
Well, but
I don't think we should huh?
That's not.
I understand
you
that.
don't go into people's homes.
Well,
all
they,
of
they wanted to be vacation, I understand, this is what, it
That's
wasn't.
what they used to
I mean, when I first started, we did that.
Yeah.
And I personally don't see any value in that. I mean, that's sort of self-policing, that, you know.
But it's up to
right now
us to see that they go by the rules and regulations of what we're wanting in this, at least that's.
So-
But we're
Real
not
quick.
the enforcement arm of the town.
Real quick.
Yeah.
So, Madam Mayor, why would the Board of Trustees, like, if all
You're
the
asking
neighbors
me to
were,
figure that
well,
out.
no, I'm just, like, as you've been on the Board of Trustees
Right.
now for 4 years,
Right.
and if 100% of the neighbors came up to you in the public hearing, and they said, we don't want this, would you guys care?
As a board of trustees, is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
You're asking me,
Would you care?
I would listen to them, sure.
Right, but
Right.
why would you not approve,
Why would I?
The reasons that are on the letters are
Just-
very important.
Yeah.
The
If-
board, the
if
board would
they're
look at those
not-
letters too.
Right, if they don't approve it because parking,
yeah.
you address them, okay, what are you doing with parking?
Mhm.
Okay, well, that one's taken care of, right?
Yeah.
I don't like dogs, okay, so you're not gonna have dogs in the house.
Yeah.
So applicant, you're not gonna have dogs in the house, okay? And a lot of those, thank you, trustee Stephen.
Backing further up, one of the most important roles of planning commission is looking at the zoning. And when a property owner decides to purchase a residence, they're purchasing it within typically an R1 residential zone that the town has said that's what shall take place in this area. If I have, bought this chair or house, I expect another chair or house to be next to me like that. And with this exception of short-term rentals, it's going through planning commission to vet that to see if that is an appropriate use, if it fits the character of the town, if it helps to maintain the general public, trajectory of the town of Green Mountain Falls. And that's where listening to the neighbors saying yes, no, or here's some issues, here's some problems. So it goes through that process because you're basically making an exception to that residential use. And at some point, it's important to weigh out that, is there a slippery slope where you say, what if a whole street or 4 or 5 residents all become short-term rentals? Does that affect the character of the neighborhood and ultimately the town? And that's where the subjectivity of the planning commission needs to come into play and sort of say, okay, there's these technical issues, but there's also a subjective issue. Are we maintaining the kind of character and the qualities of the town that we've appreciated and drawn us here? And that's, I think, that role. And that's where the subjectivity comes in and weighing the input from the neighbors and letters. And the answer may be, we have 100% against it, but we feel that the reasons are not overwhelmingly going to affect it. Or likewise, 100% for it, but we feel that this use in this location is not good for the town.
Yeah, maybe a good example is Max, where Mac lives, right now I think there's 4.
There's 4 and there'll be 5 after the next council
Yeah.
meeting.
But, so, if there's 5 within a block area, or a half
Well,
block
there's
area.
13 houses that I consider in my neighborhood. That's the street above me.
Yeah.
The street I live on, a part of the street that's just below and part of the street that's just below that. And so, with 5, we're approaching 45%.
Yeah.
That kind of changes the character of the neighborhood. Been there for 40 years, have had one short-term rental, and it was a short-term rental before I ever got there. Never had a problem. I don't have a problem with the people that are there, but it does change the character of the neighborhood.
Yeah.
You
Well,
move
and
into
we
a
have
You do
neighborhood,
realize that Green Mountain Falls is a vacation
Resort town.
destination, a vacation.
I agree, and that's why I haven't been complaining about all my neighborhood changing.
Well, and one of the problems with the El Paso one is that was the first one. And so those residents are like, whoa, we don't want a vacation rental over here because we have never had one. So it's just the complete opposite. You
I
have too many they didn't have any.
Well,
On a street that has-
excuse me, but
has
I'm not saying that there's too many in my neighborhood.
Well,
I think there's, right
You
now it's
have five.
sufficient, but the use is completely different than what the possibility could be. So what I'm saying is, of the 5 that are in my neighborhood, 4 of them are owned by people who spend every spare moment that they can in Green Mountain Falls, because they love it. The only reason that they rent the buildings out from time to time is to offset the costs, and I don't have a problem with that, because I see them all the time. And it doesn't bother me that a strange car goes up the road and pulls into the neighbor's driveway, because I know what the use is. But it's not from May the 15th until October the 15th, because they're there 3, 4, 5 weeks or 5 times over the course of the year. So, and they don't have 100% bookings when they're not there. And I understand the reason for that, and I appreciate that. The problem goes with a piece of property that's bought by somebody from out of town, who doesn't intend to spend any time there at all, or who has another house in town that they live at, and they're buying this one strictly for a business. I don't think anybody moves to Green Mountain Falls to live next door to a motel, unless they move next door to one of the motels. So, so that's the difference, and that's the character change in the neighborhood.
Well, that came up in a meeting at one time, years and years ago, about having a minimum stay. And it used to be where people could check in, check out, and yeah, you think you're living next to a motel, you didn't know who the hell was gonna be next door to you. So they changed the length of stay to a minimum stay of 3 days. Mostly I get weekly stays.
I think the nature of short-term rentals has changed enough that isn't applicable now, and I think that would be overstepping by imposing a unreasonable requirement. It was much like we talked about,
What's the unreasonable requirement?
to have a minimum stay. You know, it was much like we talked about requiring the property owner to occupy that residence, and we agreed that it's not really reasonable to say that, hey, you have to occupy it this amount of time. You know, so.
Well, it behooves the owner of the house to have.
Well, the two have been vacant they've been up here for 4 or 5 months.
Right.
You know, so we're saying, hey, you have to come up here and stay.
We don't have, this season isn't that long here. I don't care what anybody says. This season goes from the middle of July, you forget about Memorial Day. From Memorial Day, that one weekend, then you have a 2-week lapse, nothing happens. And then you have the middle of June to the middle of August when the kids go back to school, there's 2 months. After that, it's older couples, wonderful, lovely people that come up here and enjoy the place.
Summer residents.
We have summer residents that stay 2 or 3 months, yes. I was just gonna say, I live on a street that has 4 houses as summer residents, and then the other 3 are vacation rentals, and I'm the only one there in the wintertime. I'm a whole
Welcome, Dave.
Right, dog.
Back to that.
Got my dog.
You don't think that's on purpose, huh?
Everybody just said,
I don't think we can
Or we could try
put
to,
just,
But as far as I'm concerned, I always thought they wanted a minimum
Well,
stay.
there is a percentage for, I'm trying to find it, but I can't find it right now. For the Board of Trustees, if we receive a certain number of letters in opposition, then a certain percentage of the Board of Trustees has to vote
That's
yea.
correct.
that's right,
3/4.
right.
Requires a 3/4
Yeah,
majority.
80%, 3/4.
That's what the
It
percentage
requires 5 out of 7.
requires a larger vote, but
Yeah,
the board to overrule or.
And I think that would be reasonable to put in place for the planning commission.
well, has there been a poll or anything to find out what the constituency would like to have down, or are we just kind of guessing?
Well, the ordinance will go before the public process. There's
Okay.
public hearings on the ordinance.
The workshop.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to, since we've got Mac's expertise here, I'd like to ask him a question. Mac, earlier you said, I got a lot of VRBOs, STRs in my neighborhood. And you said you get 5.
Mhm.
And then the next statement said, but they haven't created any problem for me.
They haven't.
Thank you, I'll put that on the record.
Well, you could have put that in the record about 6 or 7 different times, because that's how many times I've said it.
Oh.
No,
Okay, so back to that question.
so excuse me, your argument that I got too many VRBOs doesn't hold water.
Well,
Yes,
I disagree, and the reason is because I moved to a residential neighborhood that has changed. If another short-term rental comes up in my neighborhood, I will object to it vehemently.
And you have the right to do that.
Absolutely.
And if one comes up that's owned by somebody who doesn't intend to use it, that's gonna use it for income, you can also object to that, because that's a type of use.
But frankly, from my perspective, and from my personal
Yeah.
situation, it's reached a saturation point. Enough is enough.
I think it's coming back to what Tyler was talking about, the character of the neighborhood would change, and I agree. You get a certain percentage of.
And that's a
And
subjective,
I mean, like,
and that's subjective
Well, we put it
evaluation
Up until 3
that
years ago.
5 members of the planning commission can make. Well, does it really disturb the neighborhood or not? Can the neighbors live with us or not? And you get a lot of feedback from the neighbors to tell you whether it does or not.
Yeah, so, for instance, in my neighborhood, Chris Cassie owns a large percentage of the houses.
Yeah.
And a lot of them have vacation rentals technically, but no one ever stays there.
I mean,
So, it's not really gonna affect the character of my neighborhood because
Yeah, okay.
people are only there like 1 month out of the year.
Okay, so there's a unique difference. So I've got 3 adjoining property owners that have short-term rentals. 3 out of 4, 5.
But
And so 2 of them, much like Max said, they're up there as often as they can, and they rent it out infrequently to supplement paying the bills on it.
usually family and friends.
One is a strictly transient usage.
Yeah.
The owner doesn't occupy it. If he does, it's very, very rarely. The lion's share of occupancy is transient in nature, although I will say that the person staying there now is 90-day lease or something like that. It is outside the confines of short-term rental. So short-term rental rules don't apply currently for the current use. But there's a unique difference between something that's used for profit, not where it's your vacation home that you're renting out infrequently. You know, the intent of that purchase was to rent it out and make as much money as possible.
Which really should be more of a commercial use in some ways.
Yeah, using that term very, very loosely.
No, not commercial, I don't think it should be commercial, it's just, these houses are
It's
residential.
not residential, it's more motel use than residential.
So maybe I think what we're determining from here is that, and I'm glad you brought that up, Tyler, is we need to place more emphasis on how the short-term rental is affecting the character of the neighborhood.
What's its use?
Right, what's its use, how's it affecting the character of the neighborhood? And that needs to be a big focus of what we use to determine whether it's appropriate or not.
I'm good with that.
I don't know how we put that in there as part of it, but I think that needs to be very prevalent in however we end up revising the ordinance.
Sorry, I wasn't right. Can you state that again? So I can put it in the minutes.
We need to emphasize in our decision how the short-term rental affects the character of the neighborhood.
And shouldn't the neighborhood have some input?
And I think that's part of it is,
Yeah.
like, so if it was your neighborhood and you're talking about, I have 5 out of 13 houses as short-term rentals, would one more affect the character of the neighborhood? And that's a very relevant, that would be a great way to approach it.
But it goes back to where we stand in the process. All we're doing is approving an application. And whether there's 5 letters that are nay, that still gets posted, they should be able to still go through the process. And then it goes before the board of trustees. And if everything was taken care of, the if the person having the vacation rental was conscientious enough to go to all these surrounding abutting neighbors and sell them that this is what he's gonna do and what their objection was, and he can take care of that, that's fine. If those people come back after seeing the posting, and they sit there at the Board of Trustee meeting and say, no, we don't want it, well, then the Board of Trustees, it's up to them, it's in there, it's in
Oh,
there.
I think they should weigh very heavily.
Right, so.
So there's a public hearing at the board level as well.
Right.
So
So
they go, they come here, they have a public hearing, you guys make a decision. Either way, it's gonna go.
Recommendation.
Yeah,
So, how about we do this? Let's ponder what we've talked about tonight, because I think there's a lot of good stuff that people have talked about. Brought up, character of the neighborhood, density, which some neighborhoods might not care, so they're not gonna say anything, but some people will, so we need to take that into consideration. And the next time we can come back, I think maybe have a better idea how to phrase that. And if you guys could all read the City of Glenwood's code on vacation short-term rentals, I would appreciate it for next time, because I think this is about as close as we're gonna find to what we want.
Okay, so just to recap, what you're saying is that, all right, is that it doesn't matter what we do, it's gotta go through a process, is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the thing that came up to us. What makes us refuse, what makes us deny somebody's deny the vacation rental? It's not up to us to deny it.
You don't actually deny, you
We don't
recommend.
deny it, we just don't recommend to the board of
Town
trustees
council
that they
denies.
approve.
So that's what I say, so it's kind of moot, when we talk about,
Well-
it's not up to us, as we say, well,
But how we change the ordinance and how we write how we propose the ordinance to the board also affects how they're going to approve, because they have to go by the law just as much as we do.
and believe me, I'm all for the fact that if every resident in the neighborhood is against having a vacation rental, then no, it shouldn't be, but they've gotta have some pretty good reasons why not.
Yeah, I think there has to be
Yeah,
some.
it is a vacation resort, is a resort area, has been.
Well, you know,
I'm sorry, Matt.
No, it's okay. But I dispute that for this reason. The character of Green Mountain Falls has changed over time. Green Mountain Falls started out, it was strictly summer residents. Over time, and it's been 126 years, that character has changed a little bit. Green Mountain Falls has become a bedroom community to Colorado Springs. I don't think anybody would dispute that. The bulk of the people who live in Green Mountain Falls are here, that are here year-round, are residential residents. They're not, they don't live in the motel. They don't live, and the reason that they move here is because of that character.
They're permanent residents.
Yes, and so, and frankly, I would venture to say that more than half of the homes that are vacant most of the year are owned by summer residents.
I agree.
Where the property has been in their family for generations, and they would not even think of renting it out to a stranger.
But here we have, and thanks to you, we now have a cap. We now have a percentage of homes that can be rented, didn't we pass this? So we have a percentage of homes that can be rented as vacation rentals?
Well, we discussed that, and I guess that's gonna be the recommendation, but that,
Okay, so
but the
with
reason
that,
for that was
we
to
don't
just
even
have
have
a cap, it doesn't have to remain that. It can change. The cap, the number can change.
But we're pretty safe to say that it's not gonna be, when I came into town, everything was dilapidated and falling down. There was no, the Outlook Lodge was empty practically, the Lakeview Terrace was falling down, it was like a spaghetti restaurant. The lakes, the Columbine Inn that I bought was defunct, it was falling down, it was, and this is all coming back, so there are tourists here.
Oh, no, I'm not gonna dispute that even for a minute, but the point is that generally, the character of the town has changed from summer only and resort to mostly permanent residents with a 2.5 to 3 month tourist season, that where the population may
Yeah,
double or triple.
There's never been more than 30 some odd.
So
vacation
again,
rentals.
the rental market, whether it's short-term or long-term, does not change the character of Green Mountain Falls from residential to resort. It's more residential than it is resort, and it's not likely that that's gonna change anytime soon.
Right,
Tyler?
I agree.
One tool the planning commission has that is vitally important is the comp plan. And that is designed to ebb and flow and change over time as the community decides we want the community to live differently or to remain the same or whatever that is. So as you deliberate and make suggestions, I would encourage you to look at what's there existing and see if that's enough to hold up a potential application to and see whether it fits in there. Because I think that is probably one of the strongest ways that you can say, no, it doesn't seem that this application fits within the comp plan and the characteristics we're trying to maintain. And if it's deficient, maybe it's time to update or, because I think that in my mind is the problem with the planning commission is, I'm sorry, this is not consistent with our town's comprehensive plan. We're denying this application. And that's the strongest tool I think that is there because that's a common look and you can say.
Denying it at this level, you mean?
Absolutely. That's your prerogative to look at that and to put that forth. You're not just a rubber stamping mechanical board to say you've checked all the boxes. You need to have the subjectivity and say, how does this add to the character? And then the input that this board provides to the board of trustees is vitally important so that they can make a decision finally.
And the board makes the final decision. You can recommend, and your opinion carries a lot of weight with the board. But that doesn't mean that they have to, that they're gonna agree with everything that you propose.
Chairman, we keep repeating.
Max, 1 second, Rich had his one.
Well, I think it's up to this board to do their due diligence and make a recommendation to the council.
Yes.
If the council looks at the due diligence and says they've done everything they need to do, then it's up to council just to deny it. The council has enough on their plate without worrying about whether you're doing your job or not. It's your job to do that. It's common sense. It's your job to do that. You make the recommendations. If your recommendation's good, they just throw it out.
Yeah, we're not gonna pass the buck. We're gonna
As
do
far
it.
as looking at another ordinance, I think you've got an excellent idea. You're trying to recreate something that's probably out there in 10,000 places. Go look at it.
Probably
Use
enough,
some common sense.
you'd be surprised at how few there are out there that are actually
Yeah.
worth anything.
This is a pretty good one, though.
But
Yeah.
it's probably a good one, and there's some other good ones out there. There's been people doing this for years. City of Colorado Springs got a huge one, but you don't wanna follow it.
No.
But there's a lot of them out there, smaller communities, and they don't have to be in this state. They're all over the world. So use your due diligence in doing that.
Yeah, and so how about for next week? I think we can be done with this for now. For tonight, sorry.
Okay.
But for next week, if you guys could look up more, see if you guys can find some more short-term rental ordinances, codes, so we can have more examples if you guys, unless you guys think this is gonna work or something close to this. Otherwise, if we could have some more examples, that would be great. And like I was saying earlier, in terms of trying to find some resources, unicode.com has
Yeah.
tons and tons and tons
Let me put that
of cities' codes on there. So that might be the easiest place to actually find stuff rather than spending all your time Googling stuff. So, because they have it for quite a large percentage of states as well as Colorado, so.
You search for VRBO or STR?
I did short-term rental, vacation rental, you can't, no, it's not consistent. But it was either vacation rental or short-term rental, were the two I saw.
That did take you directly into their paragraphs, you didn't have to read. Oh, that's good.
You have to put in quotes though, to actually find it.
Oh,
So,
put in the subject of the search and quotes.
so like if you have vacation rental, you put quotes around it, so that it only looks for those two words together rather than looking at vacation and rental separate.
Oh, good, thank you.
So, as a side note, before we get done, don't forget, don't hit reply all when you're emailing because that is a violation of the sunshine law.
Okay.
So either don't reply or only reply to Renee.
Okay.
What happened to people?
I'd recommend we look at section 8.6.
What?
I'd recommend we also look at section 8.6, or in general, the applicable sections of the comprehensive plan.
Is that back up on the website? Renee? Is that on our new website?
I don't know.
Okay.
The comprehensive plan,
Yes.
I think it is.
Thank you, sir.
so we can check.
8 different courses. Coming back to this.
Was that an old version?
I thought it was, but I haven't looked for it on the new website, so I'm not 100% sure it's there.
Good job.
If you have time, if it's not on the website, could you scan in 8.6 for us and email it to us, please?
8.6.
8.6.
So.
I think that's what.
Yeah, the title
In
is,
the comprehensive plan.
land use, growth,
Yeah.
principles and policies.
One thing.
So hopefully it's on the website, but if it's not, we'd appreciate it. And if you need me to scan it in, come and scan it in, I can do that too. Okay,
I'll copy it.
okay. Well, I was just thinking time-wise. So. We didn't get any correspondence this week?
No.
Great,
I haven't.
cool. Thank you for sending out all the letters.
Oh, you're welcome. Was that helpful to get the map,
Yes, the map was excellent,
to see where they went?
excellent.
Was,
So that's next meeting.
yes.
I'm gonna leave this
That's
copy of the Denver Post,
That's-
with Renee, and she can copy it or whatever. I'm not recommending it, but just so that you know that, the city of Denver is going over this same problem. And one of their council people has recommended that they only allow, permanent residents to be involved in the short-term rental.
Mhm.
And pretty adamant about it. I think it's foolish, but they're having a pretty big problem with it.
Subletting.
Yeah.
They're trying to diversify subletting.
I'll make a copy.
That was
of this
something
and
I'm looking at also.
Thank you.
And it's getting-
Does anybody else have anything we need to go over that we forgot to bring up at the beginning? Okay, well, we will adjourn the meeting at 7:57.
You.
Stay here, I gotta go.